Hey, what's good, y'all? My name is D, and welcome back to another episode of Book Reviews with the Regular Dude. Today, I'm going to be talking about Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. But before we get into all that, I got to give a quick shout out to my Plus Ultra Don't Fetters, my top tier supporters on Patreon, JJ Valdez, Luba Brock, and Laughing Cat Dog. Thank you so much for your support. You are helping to ensure I'm able to keep creating content and put it out as frequently as possible. If you also want to help support the channel in a major way and gain access to exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon. But if not, no worries, but please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. This is a spicy sports romance book. I think it came out in 2022. I would consider this a book talk darling, but this one isn't fantasy, which is actually kind of a nice change of pace for me. I know fantasy is mostly what I talk about on this channel, but I like other things too. And I was going to read the premise, but now that I think of it, is this the hockey book that led to that guy getting harassed by book talkers? Hold on. I'm going to look this up. Book talk harassment. I don't like that book talk harassment stories is like the first thing that pops up. So there's an article on The Cut. Okay, I guess there are more hockey romances that I thought there were, and this is just one of them, I guess. This is embarrassing, dog. Like, this is over a year ago, but still, this is bad. Like, don't do stuff like this. I don't think my regular viewers are into the stuff that I talk about on this channel. They just like to hear me joke about it a little bit. But if you are into this, like, don't harass people, like real people with social security numbers and families and feelings and stuff. Other people are not like objects for you to just sexualize and harass like this. Like, boundaries are a thing. And like, there's this part of me that I don't know if this is like a cancelable thing to say. Guess I'll find out. But you would think that people who know what it feels like to have their boundaries like pushed up against and like be sexualized or sexually harassed or whatever would like have some empathy and be like, maybe I shouldn't do that to other people. But I guess nah. And it was got a little too serious at the beginning of the video, but let me find my fucking notes and I'll read this premise. All right, so I'm gonna read the premise, then I'm gonna do my initial expectations, go through what happens in the book, and then do a little analysis at the end. I've had a couple people send me like essays. I've had like this one person send me an essay about how I like don't understand this character from a manga or whatever. They're like shit talking my analysis, and I'm like, dog, I'm like not being very serious about this. Like, my book review series is called Book Reviews with a Regular Dude. My manga review series is called Otaku Tuesdays. I am not like a literary critic or something like that. I'm just some guy. Anyways, Anastasia Allen has worked her entire life for a shot at Team USA. It looks like everything is going according to plan when she gets a full scholarship to the University of California, Maple Hills, and lands a place on their competitive figure skating team. Nothing will stand in her way, not even the captain of the hockey team, Nate Hawkins. I don't know, I slipped into a weird voice there. Nate's focus as team captain is on keeping his team on the ice, which is tricky when a facilities mishap means they are forced to share a rink with the figure skating team, including Anastasia, who clearly can't stand him. But when Anastasia's skating partner faces an uncertain future, she may have to look to Nate to take her shot. Sparks fly, but Anastasia isn't worried because she could never like a hockey player, right? I actually never find out why she's like, I could never like a hockey player. Like, I don't know what the hockey-based trauma is. Like, maybe I missed it or something like that, but it doesn't come up, and I don't get it. Because, like, growing up, a lot of my friends played hockey, and they were, like, okay. I would never date them. They suck. They're the worst. But, you know, they're pretty good guys. They're awful. Don't date hockey people. They're, ugh. So my initial expectations going into this book, I didn't really know what to expect at all. Like, I knew nothing about the plot. I just knew it was like hockey smut. Alana, can I tell the story about this book, about your client? The one with like she bought it for her kid. So my wife used to be a hairdresser, and she likes to read as well. Like, Alana reads probably more than I do. And she'll talk to clients about stuff that they read, if they also read, whatever, you know, just being a good hairstylist, having good conversation skills. She's great. Apparently one client who's a mom, like, bought this book for her teenage daughter, and then her other kid who's a little bit older was like, Mom, what are you doing? This is hockey smut. And she was like, what, 15? 14. And like, some people might hear that story and make a bad faith argument that all book talk books are, or am I allowed to say that word? Do I have to bleep that out? I don't know. And a lot of book banners say dumb shit like this. Like there's some lady in Florida who's trying to get like all books that have gay characters taken out of school libraries or something crazy and say that it's all. But honestly, I think it just goes to show, like, parents ought to do their due diligence and like check in with like books or whatever, especially for like younger kids or whatever. And like no shade to this lady, but like she didn't really do that. And kind of like I think at best this leads to an awkward situation. At worst, this could expose a kid to something that they're not ready to deal with. And maybe I just stepped into slippery territory. I personally don't really hate that smut exists, and I don't even hate that they have like this kind of look to their covers that some people like. See, they're cartoons. Kids are gonna think it's for them. It's just like you don't actually care, dog. Like if you're worried about kids accessing like or whatever, you take their phones away or something like that, and you don't do that. You just don't like books, weirdo. And also, like, I'm not going to engage in any like conversations or debate about what I just said. I will not entertain any bad faith arguments. Don't send me essays. I'm not your teacher. This ain't homework. But yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, except I think I did sort of expect something to be a little bit crazier. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so scarred from the fantasy shit that I've read. I genuinely thought it was going to be something crazy. Like, and then he took her hockey stick and he shoved it up her, and then she all over his. And like, this isn't pure smut. Like, this is a romance story with some smutty scenes in it for sure. But this ain't a quart of sugar and spice. All right, let's move on to what happens in the book. Chapter 1, Anastasia. Is it Anastasia? I don't know. Who cares? I think it's Anastasia because they call her Stassi. Anyway, so she's a figure skater and has a situationship with a basketball guy. His defining features are that he's tall and nice. He has a body that would make a Greek god weep, tan-skinned, and more abs than she can count. So either she can't count past 7 or he's a mutant. And I don't know which it is because it doesn't come up. Chapter 2, Nathan. Nathan wakes up with Kitty Vincent, the super mean rich girl. We meet his friends. He hates his dad and doesn't want to be like him. The coach of the hockey team calls an emergency meeting. Somebody destroyed the cooling system in the rink and everyone is in trouble. Chapter 3, Anastasia, the director of the all sports, doesn't care about her planner or her sex life. And I'm like, yeah, like, why would he? So because the rink was destroyed, the hockey team and the skating team need to share. Anastasia is upset, and Nate apologizes and invites her to a party. Chapter 4, Nathan, the hockey team start the party. Nathan talks to a kid he thinks has something to do with the rink getting destroyed. He was fooling around with a woman whose boyfriend may have done it for revenge. Anastasia arrived, and they get to know each other. Then her friend Aaron sees them holding hands and he looks mad. Quick aside, Aaron sucks. Aaron is the villain of the story. One of the downsides of like being so used to fantasy and reading like a contemporary romance novel is that I kept being like, oh, he needs to die. And it's just not going to happen because it's not that kind of a book. Chapter 5, Anastasia's perspective. Aaron tells Anastasia how it's the hockey team's fault and catches Nathan in a lie. The next day, she's at work. She works at the rink, and Ryan, the basketball guy, brings her lunch. They talk, and she encourages him to ask a girl out, and he defends Nathan as his role as a team captain. I don't think I'm going to get into it in the characters, but Ryan, the basketball captain, and Anastasia are friends with benefits at the beginning of this book, and they really hype up like the friend and the benefits almost separately, and it's like kind of jarring because I've never been in a situation quite like that before, and I don't know anybody who's successfully pulled this off. And like, no hate to anybody who's successfully had a relationship like this, bon appetit or whatever. I've just never seen it before, and it kind of weirded me out because it was like so wholesome and so horny. Chapter 6, Nathan's perspective. Aaron, the bastard, spreads the rumor about the pregnant girl, and that's why the rink was trashed. The coaches find out he's planning a surprise party for his best friend, Robbie, who wants Anastasia's best friend, Lo, to come. Chapter 7, Anastasia. The hockey team and the ice skating team go speed dating to get to know each other better. Nathan apologizes to Anastasia, and she says that he's on probation. Chapter 8, Nathan's perspective. Robbie's party, Anastasia comes with Lo, and Nathan is like, do I need to beg? And she's like, the only time I want to see a man on his knees before me is when his face is between my thighs. So in chapter 9, he eats her out. And then Anastasia avoids him for like 2 weeks. Chapter 10, Anastasia falls and Nathan helps her because he knows first aid. Chapter 11, Anastasia and Lo go to a post-game party. Chapters 12 to 13, they dance together at the club, take an Uber, and Nathan... I can't believe that, I was 17. I wanted to write like music that made people feel less alone and less sad. But I'm doing this now. Anyway, so Nathan fingers her in the back of an Uber with the rest of her friends in the front. They're rocking out to Taylor Swift, which I don't know if that's relevant to the plot. They go back to the guy's house and Anastasia brings up Ryan and Nathan gets jealous. They go to bed and Nathan says that he doesn't want to have sex until she's sober. She gets mad and feels rejected and calls an Uber. Chapter 14, Nathan's perspective. Anastasia tells Nathan that he is back on her shit list for reasons. Anastasia challenges him to find her by midnight and she'll let him do stuff. Turns out she hid at his place. Chapter 15, the hockey guys were in on this challenge to mess with Nathan and he gets back after midnight and some other girl makes a move. Anastasia is jealous. In chapter 16, Nathan's perspective, Anastasia storms into his room and they hook up. And the girl who made a move didn't actually make a move. It's like a friend of Nathan's who was just asking to use his bathroom because she wanted some privacy. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And just knew it would piss off Anastasia. Their friendship, relationship, whatever is super strange, right? Because they really don't seem to like each other. Like it's this like frenemies to lovers type of thing. So they're always up in each other's business, always messing with each other and hurting each other's feelings. Nathan is like, oh, I want to be her friend, but also they've like done stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'm just old. Maybe it's because I grew up Christian. I don't really know. This just isn't like a thing I'm used to. And I don't know if it's normal. I feel like the blurry lines of like friendship and sexual partners is like not smart, I don't even like hugging my friends. It's gross. Chapter 17, Anastasia's point of view. Anastasia is mad that she has a bunch of hickeys and Nathan drives her to work. Nate's already being clingy. Aaron finds out that they're hooking up and he gets mad because he sucks and he hates fun. Chapter 18, Nathan, nothing really happens. 19, there's a Halloween party at a club and Anastasia dresses as JJ, Nathan's friend who loves to piss him off. He's like the snarky Michelangelo of the crew. They hook up in the bathroom. Aaron shows up with a broken arm claiming Nathan did it and they can't go to regionals or sectionals or whatever it's called. Chapter 20, Nathan's perspective. He didn't attack Aaron and none of the hockey guys did it either. He doesn't know what to do. The coach says that everyone is off the team until they find out what happens. So Nathan takes the fall. He's off the team until Aaron can skate again and Anastasia hears Nathan did it and feels betrayed, which I guess is understandable. Chapter 21, Anastasia goes to therapy. She has like an online session with the therapist she's had since she was a kid. And she confesses that she's worried that Nathan won't take her back because she didn't believe him when he said he was innocent. And like, I feel like there's probably more nuance in this conversation that like a smarter person would probably be able to give or whatever. But I do like that mental health is taken seriously in this book. Anastasia's mental health journey and healing from like some like childhood stuff is part of like, and her anxiety and her need to control things and all that. That's like part of the plot. And I do appreciate that it's taken seriously. Like, I don't know if I necessarily vibe with the therapy model used, but that's like a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a big CBT fan. You know what I'm saying? Not really my thing. More of like what is the inner child therapy model called? I don't remember what it's called. Like inter-family system, something like that. I don't remember, but it's something a little more decolonial, whatever. I don't want to get into it all, but I do appreciate that mental health is being taken seriously in this book. Chapter 22, Nathan's perspective. He's cleared to play, but then Aaron's injury gives out and he drops Anastasia, and Nathan goes to apologize or check on her. They reconcile and take a shower together, but not like in a sexual way, but in a like, I'm here for you, soothing kind of way, which I didn't know was a thing because, again, me and my friends just don't get down like this. And I know a couple of them like watch these to support me. So I just want to say, like, Ryan, Aiden, I'm never taking a shower with you. Like, ever. Gross. I don't care how sad you are. I'm not doing it. Oh, you want to cancel old Don't Fret because he's a bad friend and won't shower with his boys. Fine. Cancel me. Ooh, fucking woke-ass liberals wanting me to shower with other dudes I don't fancy. Chapter 23, Anastasia's perspective. Erin is out for 8 weeks. She goes to a bar and drinks alone. Russ, the kid who got the rink destroyed, saves her from being harassed. He secretly texts Nathan, and Nathan picks them both up. They drive back, and Nathan offers to help Anastasia practice. Chapter 24, Nathan's perspective. Anastasia takes Nathan shopping for skating outfits, and they talk about her eating and how Erin has controlled what she eats. I don't know if the physical copy of this book has like trigger warnings to talk about like body image, eating disorder, and stuff like that. But it really should have, because again, this is a big part of the plot, and it's a big part of Anastasia's character development. And again, I'm sure there's more nuance as somebody who's like more well-read in like relationships to food and how beauty standards and like white supremacy, patriarchy, all this stuff like influences how our understanding of what people should look like or whatever. I'm sure someone else could talk about that. I still think this is handled better than some other shit that I've read, especially for a book talk book. But I would have appreciated a heads up because, like, yeah, I'm a cisgendered man. I still deal with a lot of that stuff. And so a little heads up would have been appreciated. Chapter 25, they start training. Anastasia says to herself, every ounce of feminism leaves her body when he smiles, which makes no sense to me. And it makes me wonder if I don't know what feminism is, or maybe the author doesn't. Like, I don't know if it's anti-feminist to just be attracted to the gender or the sex that you're attracted to. You know what I'm saying? Like straight feminists exist, right? So you can be like super into a dude and still be a feminist. I feel like I've heard this in like sitcoms or books before. I've never really understood it because like I feel like you can still like respect yourself and advocate for your own ability to like vote and have bodily autonomy and still be super attracted to somebody, right? Chapter 26, Nathan's perspective. Nathan's dad drops in and mentions that his younger sister wants to quit skiing, and they fight a little, then he just leaves. Chapter 27, Anastasia is traumatized and scared of being picked up on the ice. Aaron shows up to apologize, but he just victim blames and tries to manipulate her. They throw a party. Nate gets drunk and embarrasses himself. So basically, like, he gets super drunk. Anastasia tucks him in. He falls asleep. And then she leaves to go continue partying or whatever. And he like comes down and he's like, bro, why aren't we cuddling right now? In his boxer shorts, and everyone's like laughing or whatever. And I don't know, like I was in college. I feel like that's not the most embarrassing thing you could do at college. On my second day of college, there was this dude named Jeff who was his job he had a job in the cafeteria where he had to fill the milk machine. And it's like once a month they would fill the milk machine with chocolate milk. And so Jeff's loading in this chocolate milk in the milk machine, and he accidentally somehow rips the bag of chocolate milk. And it's like 8 gallons or something stupid. It's like a lot of milk. And it spills everywhere. Like he's covered in chocolate milk. It's all over the floor. All the first years are laughing. All the upperclassmen are furious because they're like, man, we ain't getting chocolate milk for weeks now, fool. Never mind the fact that there was like a corner store within like 2 minutes of walking. So if you really wanted chocolate milk that bad, you could just go get it. But no, I feel like that's more embarrassing. I don't know, maybe if Jeff did that naked, that'd be more embarrassing. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't talk about what's more embarrassing. I don't even like telling people that I have a YouTube channel. On chapter 28, Nathan takes Anastasia to a pool to work on their teamwork and like do lifts in a safer environment than on ice. She's like super scared of like cracking her head open because that almost happened when Aaron dropped her when his wrist gave out, because he's a bastard with a weak wrist. Chapter 29, it just says Christmas. Chapters 30 to 33, there's a Christmas party, and Aaron brings dudes to fight Henry, one of the other guys from the team. I really like this character, even though he doesn't show up a ton. Hits Aaron and explains all the terrible things Aaron has said about Anastasia behind her back since October. Nathan and Anastasia are officially official, and Lo and Anastasia decide to move out after she gets back from Colorado, because Anastasia and Lo live in Aaron's apartment. Chapters 34 to 39. I really like this part of the book. It's probably like the sweetest part of the book. They travel to Seattle to meet Anastasia's parents. That goes really well, with Anastasia calls Nate her boyfriend to her ex, who is a waiter. Then they go to Colorado to hang out in Nathan's dad's empty mansion. Anastasia goes off alone to the frozen lake and falls in, and Nate saves her. And then after she's recovered, they do a gift exchange, and it's really cute. Then it stops being cute. Chapters 40 to 42, they start doing some kinky stuff in the kitchen, and Nathan's father and younger sister arrive early from their trip. Then they all have lunch together, and it goes like okay. Then they go back home. 43 to 44, Aaron makes Anastasia go to therapy. Like it's couples therapy, but not for romantic couples or whatever. It's weird. Chapter 45, Aaron and Anastasia try to train, but Aaron is being a dick about 12 pounds of muscle that Anastasia puts on. So again, this is like a thing that Aaron does where he's like always making these weird comments about how much Anastasia like weighs, and like has her on this super restrictive diet that he like wrote for her, but it isn't very nutritious or whatever. And he's like, oh, I need to be able to lift you and whatever. People are like, we've seen this fool like squat and bench like more than your body weight. Like, he's full of shit. Every other guy in this book hates Aaron, and Anastasia like sticks with him, or not sticks with him, but is like, nah, he's not that bad the whole book. And I hate it. The reasonings, like the logic makes sense. And also she is a victim of his abuse. I understand that that's hard to walk away from for a lot of victims. I don't want to make light of that, and I don't want to cast judgment. It just frustrates me because I'm on the outside of it, and it frustrates other people on the outside of it. You know what I'm saying? Chapter 46, Nathan's friends call him out for being jealous, and he and Anastasia go on a date and make up. Chapter 47, the night before Nationals, Nathan stays over. There's a joke about Nathan being written by a man. Nope. Nathan being a man written by a woman, and it's funny because it's true. It's not that funny. I will say this is maybe the only book to ever make me truly laugh out loud, but it wasn't here. That was not a good joke. Chapter 48 to the end, Nathan sneaks out to watch Nationals. Aaron kisses her after they win, or like they finish their routine, and he just grabs her and kisses her, and it's treated like the text condemns it and treats it like assault. Anastasia is very triggered and very upset. Nate hits him in the face. The girls move into the hockey house. Nathan is cleared of like the charges and allegations because it's revealed that like Aaron actually hurt his arm playing football with friends from a different college, and he just took the opportunity to blame Nate because he's a bastard. Epilogue, 2 years later, Anastasia is a gold medalist as a solo skater, and Nathan has won the Stanley Cup for the Vancouver Vipers. I beg your fucking pardon? We're called the Canucks, thanks? Anastasia is currently pregnant, and they go to Cabo for a vacation, and Nathan proposes. And I guess they live happily ever after. So now, let's do the analysis part. Let's start with the characters. Anastasia is the main character. I think that she's written pretty well and has a lot of dimension and depth to her. This character feels like a real person. A lot of characters that I've read for this channel don't feel like real people. They don't even feel like characters. They feel like caricatures where they have like one personality trait or one thing about them, and that just gets repeated over and over again. Anastasia has like dynamics and depth and ups and downs while still kind of following a more like a cleaner, more satisfying character arc that you would find in a narrative fiction thing, you know what I mean? Well, I don't necessarily find this character particularly likable. I do find her compelling, and she was easy to root for. Anastasia is an adoptee, which I thought was an interesting aspect to add to a character. And something that I liked about it is that it definitely influences this character's backstory and motivations and decision making, but her being an adoptee is not the focus of her story, of her side of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it definitely comes up. It definitely influences some, like, the way she feels about herself and how she sees things, but it's not the point, which is nice because as an adoptee myself, I find that a lot of times when adoptees are having their stories told, whether it's fictional or real, the focus is how sad it is that we were adopted or that we were given up, lost our parents, weren't wanted, or whatever. And sometimes it's like we can also just fall in love. We can also just accomplish goals. It's always nice to see a character do that. Anastasia's like main kind of character arc, I think, is like not just self-love, but realizing that she's worthy of love and she doesn't have to achieve things or control things to get the love she's looking for. And some of that does come from being adopted. Like, I get that, big relate. But I also like that it's like not the focal point. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's well written. I think that Nathan is the best love interest that I've read in a book talk book, which is saying like nothing. But he isn't an edgy shadow boo or a grumpy golden boy. Again, he feels more like a real person. Maybe a little bit less than Anastasia, just because, you know, just the perfect yin and yang of misogynist and feminist, and it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Toxic in all the right ways or whatever. I don't fuck with a lot of that. You know, he's still better written than Zayden or Xander or whatever the fuck his name is, Rysand, or what was the other one? Tamlin, Tambourine, Tasmanian Devil. There's a lot going on with Nathan's backstory that I think was sort of resolved real quick, but not in like a satisfying way. And I almost feel like, I don't know, I think just the way it was kind of wrapped up with all the shit with his dad and like grieving his mom and his relationship with his younger sister and stuff, it was all just kind of like, we're good. And I don't know if he even needed to do that. Like, there's probably a way to write it where it's like, yeah, it'll never be good, but I'm moving forward. I don't feel like that was the takeaway, but maybe I misinterpreted, whatever. Again, I don't send me an essay about it. I don't stop. But like I said, he's still kind of toxic. Like, he's pretty possessive and controlling and stuff, especially like when they're getting down in some of the spicy scenes or whatever. And that kind of language, that kind of thing is just not like, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of like owning somebody, you know, like in the book, there's a lot of times where he's like, tell me whose this is. And she's like, it's yours. And I just would never be able to say that with a straight face because it's not mine. I don't have one. You know what I'm saying? But I think their relationship, this like frenemies to lovers romance thing they got going on here, isn't necessarily like an example of a healthy relationship, but it's not really meant to be. I don't think fiction is meant to be a model for you to live your life by. You know what I mean? Like, you can learn lessons through fiction for sure. Get your bingo cards ready. I think that there's a lot to be learned from like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've learned a lot about friendship and like supporting your friends and chasing after dreams from One Piece. But yeah, watching this relationship is kind of like watching Chandler and Monica, or Nick and what the fuck was the girl from New Girl's name? Jessica? It's like unhealthy, but it's fun to watch. Aaron's like the only villain in this story. He's kind of one note. He's really boring. None of his motivations make sense. Like, I don't really get why he's so controlling of Anastasia. I don't get why he already hates like every single guy, every other guy. It's never really explained. And a lot of his behavior gets like hand waved. So he doesn't feel like a real person to me. He's just sort of like, he has to be the asshole because they needed one to move the plot forward, kind of. And a lot of the other characters, they're a little shallow, but it's mostly because they don't have time on page. I understand that Icebreaker is the first in a series. It's going to take place on this campus. So I'd be curious to see if any of these other characters get their own story later on in this series, because that could be interesting, because they're all quite like compelling, or like I want to see more of them. They're just not really featured in this book. So I think that's a good testament to this author's writing, is that like these characters are pretty likable, you know, like is able to create like a fun cast of characters, even though only really dives deep in 1.5. Usually in this channel, I cover world building because I do like fantasy or whatever. There really isn't any to be done here because it's contemporary romance. It's supposed to be our world. I don't know shit about figure skating still. I feel like if I was like, oh yeah, I know a lot about figure skating. I read Icebreakers. No one would take me seriously. So that's whatever. I thought it was weird that they referenced like Taylor Swift and I think some like real TV shows, but then called the Vancouver hockey team the Vancouver Vipers. So either Hannah Grace doesn't know. Also, it's weird that Nathan really wanted to play for Vancouver. Don't come after me. I'm from here. I'm allowed to make that joke. I wonder if maybe there's like a licensing thing that I don't know about where you can say Taylor Swift's name and name one of her songs, but you can't say a sports team. I don't know. I'm not in publishing, so maybe that's why, but I thought that was weird. And then apparently I just stopped writing notes. That's great. World building... Characters, world building. Oh, plot. Like this is a bit of a slow burn romance. It's not really plot driven, in my opinion. It's mostly about the dynamic between these characters as whatever. I think it's fine. You know, like I wasn't bored writing. I was listening to this podcast episode by my friends, Berto and Arnaldo from Films of the Phantom Zone. Hey, if you like superhero movies, definitely go check out Films from the Phantom Zone. They talk about like failed and forgotten comic book movies. If you like really long podcast episodes while you do chores or whatever, definitely go check them out. I'm on an episode talking about one of the Ninja Turtles movies. So definitely check them out. Hit them up and tell them to bring me back for X-Men First Class. But Arnaldo on their review of Deadpool and Wolverine was saying that like they were talking about effects, but he basically said like, if you have to stop and nitpick, like if you don't notice it while it's in motion, then it's good. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but the idea of like nothing about this writing really tripped me up other than I think in chapter 10, Nathan lets a breath out that he didn't realize he was holding. And I hate that shit. But other than that, nothing really made me stop and go, wait, what? And yeah, maybe the smutty scenes kind of made me pause a little bit because I'm reading this at work. My life is a mess. Don't be like me, guys. Don't do anything that I do. But yeah, no, the writing's fine. I think with contemporary romance and stuff like that, like I can't compare it to very poetic, lyrical V.E. Schwab ass fantasy writing because it's just not the same. A testament to this author's writing is the fact that I found 1.5 characters really deep and compelling, and the others really interesting. Like, oh, I want to read more books with them in it. Again, I think like a little bit more heads up about like the ED body image stuff would have been good. I think any of these books could be more diverse, like we're talking more representation for LGBTQ folk, BIPOC folk, some intersectionality there, disabled folk, whatever would be hype. But you know, all in all, I think it's a pretty fine book. I give it like 3.5 stars out of 5 because, you know, like you can't compare some of these books to each other, but, you know, how is it for you? You know, it's like I think it was successful in what it set out to do, but what it set out to do wasn't necessarily for me, but I still think it's pretty good. And I was actually kind of surprised at how much I liked it, because I was expecting it to be, like I said, I didn't have expectations for this book, which means that I thought it was going to be bad. It's not bad. It's fine. I'm sure that a smarter, woker person than me probably could tear it to shreds or whatever, but I think it's worth a read if you haven't read it already and you're like into smut. And you don't have to know anything about hockey to like this. I mean, I do know a little bit about hockey because I played it as a little kid because I'm from Canada. You have to. It's a law. Yeah, it's fine. It's a fine book. It was a damn fine book. It was aggressively okay. It's pretty good. I will never read it again, though. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to my super duper don't fretters, Desi, Cassie, Oliver, and Lauren. You are helping me to create this content and make sure that I'm able to put it out as frequently as possible. If you also want to help support the channel and gain access to exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon. There you get an extra rant review video from me once per month, as well as access to my private Discord server where you can chat with me and a bunch of other really lovely people. We do a monthly book club where we read books, get on Zoom, talk about it. It's like a live stream, but you can be more interactive. There aren't a lot of members in this club, but I really appreciate all of them. They're like the dopest, sweetest people I've ever met on the internet. So if any of that sounds interesting or exciting to you, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon. And if not, no worries, but please, for me, before you go, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Thank you again so much for watching this video. My name is D, and don't fret, I'll see you next time. Peace out.